Hi guys, good morning.
Hi guys.
Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon, of course.
Welcome.
I'm Zubin, and
And
this is
Joe. I'm
Joe.
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 Right?
Yeah.
So
So
today, mhm, we're going to be
today's focus
talking about
is
ethics.
on ethics. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Zubin, if you'd like to read the
Yeah.
objective
Sure.
for today.
Okay. So in this focus activity, talking about ethics, a language for honest and dishonest business practices. So
Very good.
in a business, obviously, honest practices are the legal ones. Dishonest practices are often what we might call white collar crime. So
Yes. Yeah.
crime but committed by people in suits.
Yes. Very, very common now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hmm.
Hi, Gianmarco. Welcome. So,
Major Michael.
first of all, we are going to be thinking about what is an ethical company. So, what are the qualities of an ethical company, and what are the qualities of an unethical company?
Yeah, it's interesting that qualities here is used both positively and negatively. So
Mhm.
generally, when we're talking about qualities, we do mean something positive,
Hmm.
but it is also synonymous for a trait. So a
Yes,
quality can be a negative trait.
exactly. Yeah, so you can have a negative quality. hmm if yes, generally positive, but very good. Zubin, what do you think are the qualities of an ethical company?
Well, so I think an ethical company, first of all, it needs to care for the people who work for it. So you'd
hmm
have good pension schemes. You be paid a good wage by the company. So you wouldn't be working below the bread line, so to speak. There
Yeah,
is this thing called a living wage. So I suppose an ethical company would always pay even its lowest paid employee a living wage. So they can
absolutely.
expect to be able to afford essential everyday items. But yeah, there are
Uh,
other things as well, Jay.
yeah, so John Marco says precision. Yeah, I agree in
Okay.
terms of precision when uh, making contracts with employees and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
very yeah.
everything's clear. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I think it's always good to have a company that is very open and honest. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And John Marco is right. I think part of that is precision. It's
hmm
being honest about the decisions you've made about what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi Daniela, welcome.
Right,
So,
Daniela?
what ethical companies do you use, Zubin? What kind of?
Well, so I used to work for a company called Waitrose, which is part
Yes.
of the John Lewis Partnership.
hmm
And something they would do would be to divide the profits of the company every Christmas time. I worked for the company for 3 months, but over Christmas. So I did rather well out of it. But I think the bonus they pay is not very good because the company doesn't make that much money. But that would be an example of what I was talking about. So they're caring more about the employees. They're letting them have a share of the company's success.
Yeah, and I think, is it true that if you work for the John Lewis Partnership, you are a partner? That's what they call you.
Yeah. I think that's more a bit of window dressing. It's something superficial, but yeah, it's maybe it's a nice gesture. I know if you work for the company for a long time, I think if for a couple of decades, 20 years or so, you get a long holiday, like a lot of time off.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Gianmarco says respects the promise. Yeah, respecting promises is always a good quality in a company.
In a company and in life, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's unfortunate a lot of the time with big businesses that any promise, you really want that promise to be in writing in a legal document. Otherwise, it's probably not going to happen. I think that's what we know about big companies. Yes. So thinking about unethical companies. Lots of examples, unfortunately.
Famously unethical companies. Yeah, so they're typically dishonest.
Yes.
So I suppose the most famous word you would associate with dishonesty in companies is fraud. So some types of fraud, basically when you're lying to make money.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very bad thing for a company to do.
Yeah.
Gianmarco says the company is very direct on what we have to do. I think, yeah, clear instructions, clear directive, very important for a company. Absolutely. I think maybe recently, I would say the most famous example of an unethical company, a continuing case, would be Amazon, I would say.
Right. Yeah. So Amazon is a company which doesn't do what I was saying earlier. So their employees aren't particularly well treated. They're I think there've been reported cases of people not being paid very much or not being paid a minimum wage because of the hours they work. It's strange. Being denied toilet breaks because they don't have enough time because they have a schedule to stick to.
Yeah. And yeah, like Gianmarco says that they are a very precise company, so that is a good quality, but maybe at a cost of human quality time.
Yeah. So you can be precise and still be unethical, because ethics are about being good to living things, to animals, to people, treating people respectfully. So Amazon's very good about respecting the customer, but yes, this can be at a cost to their own employees.
Absolutely, and really good comment from the companies don't like exactly people. Sometimes they can't go to the bathroom, apparently, so very difficult. I would say that in broader terms of ethics, Amazon is another good example for personal ethics, because I often use Amazon because it's very convenient. But I know this stuff happens, and maybe it's
it's a good test of your own ethical restraint. I don't know.
And exactly, yeah, that's another example. John Marco very famously use bad labor practices, but still buy the products. So I think a lot of this is sort of personal accountability as well as a customer. Do you would like to stop using maybe?
Well, I suppose John Marco's point about sweatshops was a good one. So if the company produces a product, generally the ones you should avoid or should want to try to use less are these companies that use cheap materials. They make a cheap product that's designed to not last. Generally, when this happens, they're not caring about the environment. They're not looking after the people who work for them. So, yeah, if you make sure you're buying, I think there is a trend now towards people investing in fewer, better quality products.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea going forward, definitely.
So companies which produce those, I suppose, are more ethical.
Yeah, I think also it's encouraging to see big companies becoming more ethical, becoming more aware. Recently, I saw that Colgate now make wooden toothbrushes.
Wow.
And are mass producing toothbrushes.
I think the main problem is the bristles now. The bristles, which maybe we should explain, are the things on the brush. The bristles are the
that's a good vocabulary.
The little hairs.
Little hairs on the toothbrush.
Yeah.
For a comb, different though, no? For a comb.
Sorry?
So on the toothbrush, it's bristles. On a
comb, it's teeth. Yeah.
Teeth on a comb. Comb teeth.
Yeah.
A hairbrush. I don't know. Is hairbrush? Is that bristles again?
I don't know. I've never used a hairbrush. So
Well, see, I should be the expert on the hairbrush. I should know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, but the bristles, are still problematic. So maybe again, that is something like we were talking about. That is possibly window dressing.
I think
a superficial move by a company.
Right. Which you do see sometimes quite often. Yeah. There are also plastic particles in toothpaste. I don't know, which there was a bit of a fuss about last year. I don't know whether that's been changed or whether these companies have tried to use them less. Because they end up in the ocean.
The plastic issue is not really slowing down. I think rather than any effective change, I'm seeing a lot of maybe posturing by different companies. I think it's to solve.
If governments intervene, I think there can sometimes be a difference. I remember 2 years ago, I was in Georgia, in the country near Turkey. I was traveling around there for a month or so. Whenever I went to a shop and bought a small pack of biscuits, I'd always be given this black plastic bag. And I hated these plastic bags. They'd had loads of them and they always used them. And I threw them away. I didn't want to see them. A month after I left, the government banned these plastic bags, and now they're probably a collector's item. I threw them all away because they were all over the place. I felt a bit silly.
That's strange. There was a very good initiative in Rome. I think it was famous world news that people who ride the metro can recycle their plastic bottles and plastics and earn credit to ride the metro. So it's quite a good initiative.
Yeah. So I think these things, I think people they are wanting to change their practices.
Exactly. And good point, Gianmarco. The petrol companies that hide the damage that are causing to the environment. Like BP, very famously, has spilled oil.
Yep. Yeah. So all of these petrochemical companies, because of the impact they have on the environment, are naturally going to find it harder to present themselves to the public as an ethical company. They need to do more regarding
and I think
treatment of employees to have that reputation, I think.
Absolutely. They do really try to seem ethical. It's very superficial. It's quite funny sometimes how hard they try. And ESO as well, good example. Okay, so looking at some vocabulary related to ethics and business practices. Okay, so let's just read.
Yeah, so first one, phone hacking or phone tapping. Then commission, whitewash, confidentiality agreement, debacle, whistleblower, compensation, trustworthy employees.
Okay, so let's just take that side to begin with. This might be a lot of new words, guys. We're aware. So, phone hacking.
Yeah. So, to hack is a verb which we use generally for computers. So there will be people called hackers who try to break the security of a computer and steal information. Phone hacking is the same, but over phones. So people will. It's something which has been a problem in British newspapers. It was a big problem 9 years ago, 2011. There was a lot of news about phone hacking, about tabloid newspapers particularly, that spent a lot of time trying to read the texts and phone calls of and listen to the phone calls of celebrities, politicians, but also families who had been in the news because of things that happened to their relatives.
Yeah. So, in fact, yeah, of course, we were shocked by this scandal. Again, we see a lot that when it happens to celebrities, I think it was Steve Coogan, it was Hugh Grant, that it's almost expected. It's bad, but we don't lose our minds about this. But then it did happen to normal people as well.
Yeah, I think the family of Millie Dowler.
Millie Dowler, yeah, is very horrible, very bad time.
Millie Dowler was a girl who was she was killed in Britain. There's a lot of news about that story, and her family's phones were hacked by these newspapers who wanted information about the story, new information. So yeah, extremely dishonest, very unethical.
Absolutely, and I think the company behind that, News Corporation, headed by Rupert Murdoch, the Australian media mogul, have not slowed down on their unethical behaviour. I think they just seem to find new ways to do it.
Yeah, be inventively unethical.
Yeah. Incredible. Okay. How about a commission? What is a commission?
Commission. So, a commission is when you are paid a wage or some money, but in addition to your salary, I suppose. Or it's someone who's not your employer who's paying you. So
yeah, so
you might do some work for a different company.
Yeah, you can be given a commission for some a small piece of work for another company, and you can also use commission as a verb. So commission, to ask someone to do a specific job.
Yeah. Usually, so the person you commission is paid a commission.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a commission for the commissioned work. Yeah. Absolutely. And am I correct in thinking that it can also be used in terms of a investigation if there has been some unethical behaviour? We would say a commission has been started to investigate the ethical behaviour.
Yeah, true. So again, in that sense, I suppose it's ethical.
Yes. Yeah. I think that is also from the same origin, that these people are asked to do some work. They're usually an external group of people from a company. They are commissioned to investigate. Very good. Whitewash is an interesting
whitewash thing. Yeah. So whitewash is a type of where it's an expression that means to obscure something, so to block something from view. So whitewash is, I suppose, it's a type of paint. If you whitewash a wall, you put the paint all over the wall, and the wall becomes completely white. So companies will whitewash something to conceal something, to hide something.
Yeah, absolutely. And more recently has been used as a term for talking about history. If I say to whitewash history, what does that mean?
Whitewash history. I suppose it might be something that countries could do, governments could do. When they're ashamed of their past actions, and they present that part of history in a way that's false.
as Gianmarco, to hide or delete something bad. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
And it often now as well can be used in a kind of a racial way as well. So if someone whitewashes an event, they obscure or they diminish the contributions of people of color. So, for example, NASA and the moon landing, the recent film Hidden Figures, talked about some black scientists that were involved in crucial NASA events that were never propagated or put forward.
And they're never credited. I didn't know that.
I think also it happens a lot in British history. The women's suffragette movement of the early 20th century has been very whitewashed, unfortunately. But I think, again, like we were saying with steps forward with companies, this kind of thing is starting to be changed in schools, which is very encouraging, very nice.
Right.
Okay, so a confidentiality agreement we were talking about before is probably more commonly called a non-disclosure agreement.
So, non-disclosure agreement is where you agree not to disclose information. So, to disclose something is when you it's when you reveal information.
Yes.
So if you imagine something being closed, you disclose it. You're showing other people, sharing the information with other people. So non-disclosure, it's like a double negative. You're agreeing to keep information away from the public.
And Gianmarco, like the Americans that think they are native. Yeah, that's it. Definitely, American history is very whitewashed. That was sure. The NDA is usually the abbreviation, non-disclosure agreement. NDA is a legal document where if you breach the agreement, you could face legal action or probably have to pay a lot of money. These have become very famous in recent years for the big cinema events like the Star Wars films, the Avenger films. All of the cast are under very strict non-disclosure agreements. But it's quite funny how seriously it is taken. Any plots information can be very bad. I like this next word. Sorry, Zoom.
But the next one, debacle. What's a debacle, Joe?
I think I use debacle quite generally. I think it's quite a difficult situation. I would say a debacle.
I would use it a bit stronger than that. I would say a debacle is like a mess, like some sort of disaster. But it's not
a very difficult situation, like a scandal kind of thing.
So it's quite a fun word, but it's not. It doesn't describe something fun. It's very much negative.
Is like the News of the World scandal we talked about with the phone hacking. That was a debacle. That was
it was a debacle for News of the World because they were in a lot of trouble.
So Gianmarco, yes, that would be a good example for debacle. they were in a lot of trouble. The situation was a debacle. Hi, Alij, welcome to the stream.
Okay.
So, whistleblower.
Yeah.
What is a whistleblower?
So a whistle is something a referee uses in a game of football. So, a whistleblower, someone who blows the whistle. Here, whistle is used metaphorically. So it's not an actual whistle.
Yeah.
A whistleblower is someone who alerts other people to something they feel other people need to know about.
Exactly. Yeah. And Daniela, yes, debacle is very similar to scandal. Good comment. Okay. Famous would be Edward Snowden of the NSA. Very famous.
Yep.
Blew the whistle on some very dodgy practices at the NSA.
Right.
Spying on.
Okay.
But now in exile, he has to live in Russia for that action. Very different, Snowden. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So being a whistleblower can be very dangerous. Yeah.
So John Marco, the whistleblower is a person that not control the others, but maybe to alert people to bad practices of a corporation or a person. So the person who reveals the bad behavior, the whistleblower. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Compensation.
Compensation. So compensation is something you receive from a company if you have lost money or you've been mistreated. You can get compensation if you were ill or if you've been off work for a long time and it wasn't your fault. That can be compensation.
Yeah. Usually financial compensation. Yeah. But,
I say we can usually say it's ethical, but sometimes it's more mixed. So I think recently Rose McGowan, I think when she was paid by Harvey Weinstein, not to go to the court because she had experienced abuse at his hands. She was paid, given an out-of-court settlement, which I suppose is a form of compensation. Maybe there it's less ethical because it prevented her going to the courts and publicizing his abuses.
Absolutely. With the Weinstein case, we can relate some of our other vocabulary, like whistleblower, the people who have revealed the abuse they've suffered. They would be whistleblowers in the Hollywood industry. And now he is in prison. So 23 years. Good result. Okay. Trustworthy employees, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. I think trustworthy. It's always good to have trustworthy employees. A slush fund, kind of similar to what we were talking about with Weinstein. A slush fund is money specifically put aside and given to people to not reveal bad information and damaging
Is that
information.
I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Definitely unethical.
very unethical. Yes. And disclosure, we've spoken about. Insider trading. That's a very common white-collar crime.
Yeah, insider trading would be something a financial trader would do. So these people have access to information about the movements of the market. If they're placing their own money or moving it around, taking advantage of the information they know, which normal people, normal shareholders don't have, then that's insider trading. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a form of fraud, I suppose.
Yeah, very, very bad. And yeah, fraud we've spoken about. A cover-up, similar maybe to whitewash in a way, to conceal, to hide a bad activity.
So they're synonymous, aren't they? To cover up is a phrasal verb. It is synonymous with to whitewash.
Yeah, to cover up. Mm-hmm. A law-abiding citizen. Law-abiding citizen.
So to abide something is to respect it. It's to follow it. So law-abiding citizen is someone who abides the law. They follow the laws. They don't break laws. Typically, a law-abiding citizen would be more ethical than a citizen who never abides the law.
Very true. I think the irony of the phrase law-abiding citizen is that usually we only hear this described about someone when they are maybe in court being accused of crime.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's often used when there's nothing else good to say about the person.
Yeah, it's not like me and Zubin describe ourselves daily as law.
Though, of course, we are.
Yeah, yeah. But I think, yeah, you wouldn't walk up to someone in a bar and say,
No.
"Oh, nice to meet you. I'm a law-abiding citizen."
No, we don't recommend that.
No. Okay. Industrial espionage. Very exciting.
Yeah, we don't come across this very often. Espionage is a noun. It relates to spying. So James Bond's business is espionage. That's what he does. Industrial espionage would be espionage within companies. So other companies spying on their competitors, on companies producing their product within their field.
And if you know any examples of this, I'd love to hear in the comments. The only example I can think of is from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory book and film. The Willy Wonka closed his factory because of industrial espionage.
Really?
He didn't want people to know his Wonka secrets, and that is why he closed the.
Oh dear, I'm unfamiliar with that story. I've forgotten that. Great example.
But that's the only example I can think of. But maybe it's not that common unless it is very well done, and we just don't know it's happening.
Yeah.
Finally, bribery. I think bribery. touched on.
Yeah, so a bribe, it's the same. So it's a verb and a noun, bribe. So to bribe someone is to give someone money for them to do what you want, basically. So again, often about keeping quiet, about covering up, avoiding disclosure.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting, some of the stories you hear where bribery is very common. For example, apparently in the Philippines, it's very common that you would bribe police. They expect to be bribed.
Yeah. If you travel in poorer countries, you can almost expect to pay bribes. I've paid bribes to police officers on more than one occasion. It's frustrating.
Yeah, very frustrating. Yes, exactly, John Mark. To pay someone to be quiet and not, and like Cuba, yeah, similar situation. Very good. Okay, so if we gonna move on a little bit and think about maybe some personal unethical activities in your workplace.
So the individual, I suppose, well, some of these are quite serious, but they wouldn't be things you would get sentenced to time in prison for.
Yes, and more personally immoral behavior.
Maybe. Yeah.
For example,
so taking an extra long lunch break. Have you done that, Joe?
I have, to be honest, in the past, not in admin companies, in big offices. Sometimes it's very easy.
It's too easy. Okay.
And I think maybe on a Friday or something like this, or close to Christmas, it's often it's a little bit expected by your boss.
Okay.
And
see, I've never worked in that sort of company. My jobs have always been, I've been in retail or in catering, pubs, bar work, teaching. So my time has always been, I'm always supposed to be doing things, and people know if I'm not there. So I've never had the opportunity.
Very good. Thanks for watching, Simon. Very good. So taking sick days. Zubin, what is a sick day?
A sick day is a day you have at home because you're ill. So similar to what we're experiencing now, but not strictly, because a sick day is when you are actually ill.
Yes.
And you call up and you say to your boss, "Oh, I feel terrible. I must stay at home."
And how could a sick day be unethical, Zubin?
If you're lying,
if
you're not really sick, or if you're a bit ill, but really you can work, because that makes it stressful for your employer, for your boss. They have to find someone else to do your work. It makes more work for everyone else, for your colleagues.
I think very irresponsibly this can be presented in films and TV like a very whimsical, fun activity.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. People should take it more seriously. If you can work, if you can do the job, then you should be at work.
Yes. If you want a day off, maybe book a day off.
Yeah.
It's even, I think, thinking about it, often in films, it can be portrayed as almost romantic. Like, oh, don't go to work. I'll just call a sick day. Yeah, no problem. It's
Yeah.
very, because the reality of the situation is when you return to work, everybody knows and they hate you. So it's never
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Best
using the
avoided.
company resources for personal use.
The company resources.
Mm.
Hey, so a pen, or at
Mhm.
school we have staplers, so the thing for paper. Um, yeah, if you use that because you want to be using it, not because you need it, then that's using it for personal use.
Yeah. Yes. I think maybe the most common version of this is people using company printers for their own printing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Uh, um,
Not everyone has a printer.
yeah, I think almost no one owns a personal printer now. That is my assumption, because
Yeah.
either
Actually,
you use
yeah.
the printer in your office or you ask someone you know.
Yeah.
uh,
My family have a printer. But yeah, I
hmm.
suppose it is a bit of a strange thing to have. They are quite expensive.
So something like that I would not view as unethical. I think you shouldn't be um, you shouldn't be really
Don't
doing
abuse it.
too much of it. Yeah,
Yeah. As long as you think you can ask someone and it's a small thing and they'll say yes, then there's no problem.
yeah, it's fine. Working 80 hours a week, I would say that is unethical from the company,
Yeah, the
really.
company should never be forcing or asking their employees to be working that much. It's unhealthy
Yeah,
for the employee. They won't be doing a good job. They won't have time for personal life. Yeah.
exactly. Should never be in that situation. Nepotism.
So
Uh,
nepotism, yeah, is when you give jobs or bonuses or higher salaries to typically to people who are in your family. So
mm,
usually your children, nephews, nieces.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, um, can be very damaging to the public
Yep.
image of a company.
Yeah.
Claiming extra expenses, something again that is often portrayed very as a fun thing to do in a film. Um, Claiming for a business lunch or claiming travel expenses, I think is
Right.
nice.
Yeah. So again, this is another thing that 10 or so years ago in Britain was a big issue.
Mm,
So MPs, members of Parliament, claimed a lot of expenses on second homes for things they really didn't need. I think one MP claimed a lot of money for his duck house.
yes, that was a fantastic.
Or wasn't there somebody who claimed money for cleaning his moat?
Yeah, some of the
He owned an old house or a small castle with a moat,
mm, yes,
which is
oh,
a ditch around the castle,
mm,
and he wanted to clean it and used public money to clean his moat.
incredible,
Yeah,
incredible. So we're just coming up
incredible.
to the end of today's streaming. So finally, to cut corners at work, um, to not do things as thoroughly as you should, to
Mm,
um, make
yeah,
think a job maybe shorter or easier for
yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
Um, so, thank you so much for joining us, guys.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Really, really nice to spend this time with you, and I hope we get to see you back in normal lessons again soon. So,
Yeah.
Enjoy your afternoon and see you
next
soon.
time.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.